In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good afternoon. Welcome to our convention. My favorite magazine is The Sun. The Sun is a literary magazine with no ads, only poems, short stories, and interviews with interesting people. Each issue has a section in which readers may submit a story that has something to do with the subject for that month. For example, this month's subject is learning the hard way. Next month will be tattoos, and in December, the topic will be dating apps. Ordinary writers will send a brief story on those topics. Reading this month's topic on learning the hard way, I was taught by one particular writer. Her story was that when she entered the 9th grade, she was an honor student, an honor roll student, but by the end of the first semester, she had a D in algebra. She went to see her teacher and explained that she really only earned an F, but he did not want to flunk her. And she began to cry, and the teacher put his arm around her, showed her, and he said, "It's okay. Girls can't do math. Just don't take any more math classes." She took his advice to heart and did not take any more math during the rest of her high school years. Later on in life, she married and had children. One day, her husband was laid off from work, so she took an entry-level job at a small manufacturing company to help ends meet. As the purchasing manager left, she was promoted to his position. She was afraid that she might need some math skills, but she knew and understood the inventory and could learn the previous manager's system. Very quickly, she realized that the previous manager had no system. Not only that, the position did require math. But she was up to the task, so she created her own method. However, it was not good enough. She was staying up late at night after the children went to bed to organize herself for the next day with all sorts of odd ways to get the job done. But really, she was failing. At the height of her stress, she went to her boss and told him that she was not doing very well. She even told him the story of her high school teacher who told her that she couldn't do math because she was a girl. She said her boss stared at her for a very long time. And then he said he needed a cigarette break. He told her to go back to work. So she went back to her office and sat there waiting to be fired. An hour later, the boss called her back into his office and proceeded to tell her how he couldn't believe a teacher could be so ignorant, that the ability to do math had nothing to do with her gender. He told her that he would teach her the skills that she needed to do for the job. So for the next 6 months, she learned the ropes, and when she finally truly understood the process, she began to find ways to make the system more efficient, save money for the company. Shortly after her tutorial session ended, the owner of the company promoted her and gave her a raise. When she expressed her gratitude, he told her that it was he who was grateful for her willingness to hang in there. The reason this story reached so deep within me is because it is my story. I know the effects of someone's words that are sharp and careless. I have been on the end of such critical language, and I'm sure that I have spoken too quickly to others as well. How many of us have carried around far too long hurtful words spoken to us? You see, what we say matters, reaches far beyond our intent. Making pronouncements without considering the other person can have lasting effects. Now, if you have been following the lectionary for the past several weeks, and I'm sure all of you have been in church following those, you've noticed that we have been in parables. Parables which are teaching tools Jesus used for our benefit. They were and are meant to instruct us in right ways of living as followers of Jesus. While today's gospel reading is not a parable, I believe all of Jesus' teachings are bound up in the opening sentence of today's readings. I am giving you these commandments, that you may love one another. It is love. The love of God as seen in the face of Jesus, that we are being redeemed over and over every day. The theme of this convention is always we begin again. These words were taken from John McQuestion's book of the Benedictine Way of Living. I was given a copy of this book when it first came out, and the title has never been far from me. The title is a reminder that every day we begin again, hoping to have learned a kernel of truth. A kernel of truth in the day before. It is the story of humanity's desire to take a step forward after we have taken 2 steps backwards. Every day we have another opportunity to make a difference in this world to love. Some days are better than others, and yet, in God's infinite grace, no matter where we have fallen short, we can begin again. Throughout Scripture, the rolling theme is beginning again, and again, and again. From Adam and Eve through the Second Testament, God's children were falling and getting up over and over. And it is true for us as well today. The other day, in the process of boxing books, I came across the journal of my first year as your bishop. Thumbing through, I found entries that pointed to successes, and I found some that were failures too. That was not really a surprise. But the first sentence caught my attention. What is the invitation God is giving us? As I sat on the floor thinking about the beginning of my work among you, I think I can say God is still inviting us to love one another as God loved us. Loving is not easy. It's messy, demanding, and sometimes it is painful. But in the end, it is life-giving. For love produces love upon love. It is when we step back and think we don't need love that we fall prey to our own desires and direction. Like the math professor who told the young student she couldn't do math because she was a girl. That comment was not for her, but it was against her. And building up one another is part of loving others. If you look at the 2 men we remember today, St. Jude and St. Simon, they were 2 opposite individuals. Yet they worked diligently to spread the word of hope, grace, and love. So were the rest of the disciples. What a mixed group of guys, and yet they found ways around their differences to tell the story of Jesus' love for them and for us. This is the word that you and I have shared for the past 12 years. We didn't always agree, yet we found ways to continue the call of discipleship. I would like to think that we tried because the other mattered more than the issues. The other mattered. In the Mockingbird Journal, Sadie Smith wrote, I think the hardest thing for anyone is accepting that other people are real as you are. That's it. Not using them as tools, not using them as examples, or things to make yourself feel better, or things to get over or under. Just accepting that they are absolutely as real as you are, and have all the same expectations and demands. And it's so difficult that basically the only person that ever did it was Christ. The rest of us are very, very far behind. So many people think the days of organized church from the downslope. I disagree. This is our time to show an angry, judgmental, self-absorbing, fearful world that there is a better way to live. It is living the way of Jesus. Jesus sees us for who we are and loves us anyway. He understands that we are the same and in need of love. And this is the calling we share. This is what we promised in our baptismal vows, that we accept the way of Christ, the way of Paul, to respect the other as real as we are, to bring to the table justice and hope and longing to be invited to the community for all people. On my ordination as bishop, presiding Bishop Shorey gave me a frame, a quote from Don Homer Camara. The bishop belongs to everyone. Let no one be scandalized if I frequent those who are considered unworthy or sinful, who is not a sinner. Let no one be ashamed if I am seen with compromised and dangerous people on the left or the right. Let no one bind me into a group. My door, my heart, must be open to everyone, absolutely everyone. These words are not just for bishops, but for every person who desires to be called a child of God. The door of our hearts must always be open to those who seek shelter from life's darkness. We do this because the other is as real as we are. We do this because our hearts yearning is to love as Christ loved us. We do this to lift up our neighbor, which brings me back to where I began. Jesus said, I give you a new commandment, that you have love one another.